Good morning, everyone. If everyone could please take their seats and we'll get going. I want to thank all of you for coming to the 20th anniversary of the North American Carbon World Conference. It's really been a delight to meet many of you. The dynamism, exchange of ideas that all of you bring to the table is just one of the things that makes NACW so much fun. So I hope you've been enjoying it as much as we have. I want to kick off this morning with the honor and pleasure on my end to introduce the chair of the Climate Action Reserve, Linda Adams. Linda, under many other past jobs, has been Secretary of the California EPA. And back when Arnold Schwarzenegger finally signed AB 32 into law, Linda's the person that made it happen. She was obviously as Cal EPA Secretary, was front and center on that fight. For those of you who were involved in that battle way back when, it was touch and go. A lot of people thought it's never going to happen. Well, Linda saw to it that it did. So without further ado, my pleasure, Linda Adams.
Thank you, Craig, and good morning, everyone. I hope I can read my notes. I hope everyone is awake this morning. But I want to thank you all for being here at our 20th anniversary of the North American Carbon World Conference. You heard from Diane that we used to be navigating the American carbon world, but we're doing work all over North America, so we changed the name of the conference. And it was a record this year. We have over 900 people registered and 22 countries participating. So we are thrilled about that. And I want to thank our sponsors and our speakers and our exhibitors for your support and your participation. It's all been amazing. And I'd like all of us to give a shout out to Craig Ebert and our amazing team at the Climate Action Reserve, especially Jennifer, who's been whirling around unstoppable. So can we please thank them for this amazing conference? And yesterday we heard a little history from our first president, Diane Wittenberg, and one of the stories that Diane didn't tell was that she was very instrumental in our initial thoughts on the design of the market, and she prepared and led a delegation to the European Union where we met with WWF, IETA, we met with everyone, and we had one major skeptic from the legislature with us. And every meeting we had, he would ask the same question. Gee, shouldn't we do all these regulations first and maybe a market later? And the answer was, no, do the market now. Do it now. So we heard that across the board and learned some lessons from the European market. And I met Diane when I was appointed Cal EPA Secretary, and I had been retired for a year. So suddenly I'm back in state government, and I find out that I'm chairing this little state-created nonprofit, the Climate Action Registry. And Diane talked a little bit about how the registry became the reserve, and now there are two nonprofits, and we work very closely and lead a delegation to the UN climate talks. So last year, 170 people in our delegation. So I'd like to just tell you a little bit about my first UN trip, and that was right after Governor Schwarzenegger signed AB 32. And the UN climate talks were in Nairobi, Kenya, and the climate group out of London sponsored our delegation of two, me and a deputy at Cal EPA, Eileen Tutt. And Governor Schwarzenegger, he had just signed this bill, and there was talk about a market, and gee, what is California up to? So everyone wanted to meet us and find out what we're up to. There was only one country that wasn't that happy to see us, and that was the Bush administration. And I'll put that in my book about that meeting. And so it was quite an experience, early on for me to be back in the middle of this. And so I was thrilled that we were able to get AB 32 done. So I'd like to talk now about who's coming up next to speak, and that's our second president, Gary Giroux. And Gary led us through some very difficult challenges. Another thing that happened very quickly after I was appointed at Cal EPA, the original registry law had a sunset date. And unfortunately, we became a pawn in a budget battle. And we had Governor Schwarzenegger, Fran Pavley, Speaker Nunez, fighting to make sure the registry continued to be funded. But we lost that battle. So suddenly, our little state nonprofit registering emissions was going to disappear. So Gary and I chatted, and let's go organize under California nonprofit law. And actually, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because we were able then to choose our own, design our own space in the market. We didn't have the legislature telling us what to do, so that was lucky. And I have to say what I'm most proud of, and that's one of the early action items that we helped the state with, and that was led by Gary Giroux and John Nickerson, and that, of course, was our forest protocol that was then adopted by the California Air Resources Board. And by then, I think I was retired again by then, so I've continued to lead the reserve in my retirement. And of course, we're very proud of the first forest project that came in to the state, early action, very big deal, the first compliance project, and that was the project at the Yurok tribe. And I want to thank Javier Kinney of the Yurok tribe for his continued leadership in that area. So, and that project is such an amazing project. It really showcases how the program can benefit indigenous communities.